Right now, without even thinking about it, one of your hands is in charge. Pick up a pen, throw a ball, brush your teeth, the same hand shows up almost every time. And here's the strange part. You never chose it. It was decided for you before you could even talk. About 9 out of 10 people are right-handed, the other 1 in 10 are left-handed. But why are we split like this at all? Why isn't it 50-50? And why for most of history was being left-handed treated as something to fix, even something dangerous? Stay with me, because by the end you'll know exactly what decides which hand is yours. Your handedness is older than your very first memory. It begins before you're even born. Look at an ultrasound, and you'll see something remarkable. Many babies in the womb already favor one hand. They reach more with it. They suck one thumb far more than the other. And when scientists followed those same babies for years, the thumb they preferred often predicted the hand they'd grow up to write with. A baby in the womb can't decide anything, yet the preference is already there. So whatever sets your handedness, it switches on incredibly early. That doesn't mean it's locked from day one. Toddlers often switch hands, grabbing with whatever is closest. For most kids, a clear favorite settles in around age 3 or 4, and for some, even later. So if you ever watched a little kid swap a spoon from hand to hand, you were watching a brain that hadn't finished choosing yet. But once it chooses, it usually sticks for life. To understand why, you have to look at the brain. Your brain is split into 2 halves, and the wiring is crossed. The left half controls the right side of your body, and the right half controls the left. For most people, the left half is also home to a lot of language. So the same side that runs your speech tends to run your dominant hand. This idea of one side taking the lead has a name, lateralization, and it's one of the things that makes human brains special. The 2 halves aren't strangers either. They're joined by a thick cable of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum, trading messages back and forth millions of times a second. And language isn't as tidy as the myth suggests. In right-handers, speech usually lives in the left hemisphere. In left-handers, it's far more mixed. Their brains are, on average, just a little less one-sided. Now, you've probably heard that left-brained people are logical and right-brained people are creative. Hold on to that thought because that one is mostly a myth, and we'll come back to it. Here's one you can try right now. Clasp your hands together and interlace your fingers. Look at which thumb ends up on top, left or right. Now unclasp and try to put the other thumb on top. Feels strange, doesn't it? That's another hidden side preference your brain made without ever asking you. And it doesn't stop at hands. You also have a dominant foot, the one you'd kick a ball with, and even a dominant eye. Your whole body quietly picks sides. Want to find your dominant eye? Stretch both arms out, make a small triangle with your hands, and frame a faraway object inside it with both eyes open. Now close one eye, then the other. With one eye, the object stays put. With the other, it jumps. The eye that keeps it still is the one truly in charge. So is all of this just written in your genes? Sort of, but it's messy. Left-handedness does run in families. If both your parents are left-handed, your odds go up. But scientists have never found a single left-handed gene. Instead, there are dozens of genes, each nudging the odds just a little. And here's the clearest proof it isn't pure DNA. Identical twins share the exact same genes, yet about 1 in 4 left-handers has a right-handed identical twin. Same code, different hands. Something else has to be in the mix, and that something is partly chance. The fine wiring of your brain is, in a real way, a roll of the dice. It's the reason 2 left-handed parents can still raise a house full of right-handed kids. The odds tilt, but nothing is guaranteed. Now here's the puzzle that really bugs scientists. If right-handedness is so common, why hasn't evolution simply made everyone right-handed? Why do left-handers keep appearing at roughly the same 10% in culture after culture across thousands of years? On ancient cave walls, where people stenciled their own hands in paint, we find about the same split we see today. One leading idea is called the fighting hypothesis. In a world of close combat, being left-handed is rare, and rare is an advantage, because your opponent isn't used to it. Picture a left-handed boxer or fencer. Their attacks come from the wrong angle, but that edge only works while lefties stay rare. So why don't they slowly take over? Because most of life isn't a fight, it's cooperation. Sharing tools, copying a teacher, working shoulder to shoulder all run smoother when bodies are built the same way. So evolution pulls both directions at once. Combat rewards being different, everyday life rewards being the same. 10% might be exactly where those 2 forces meet. For most of history, though, nobody called it an advantage. They called it a flaw. Just listen to our own words. In Latin, the word for left is sinister. In French, gauche means both left and clumsy. The right hand was the hand of skill, of honor, of blessing, and the left was tied to bad luck and worse. For centuries, children who reached with the wrong hand had it corrected. Teachers tied left hands behind backs, or forced kids to write with the right, and this went on well into the 20th century. We even built the whole world for righties. Scissors, school desks, can openers, the way we shake hands. Ask any left-hander about smudged ink, spiral notebooks digging into your wrist, or scissors that simply won't cut the quiet daily friction of living in a right-handed world. None of it changed the brain underneath. It just taught millions of people to hide who they were, and we can actually watch them come out of hiding. In the early 1900s, official rates of left-handedness were as low as 3 or 4%. As schools slowly stopped forcing children to switch, the numbers climbed back up to around 10 or 12% by mid-century and then leveled off. The left-handers had been there all along. Society had simply been pressing them flat. And here's the fact that should bury the idea that left is wrong. Humans aren't even special in this. Animals have a favored side too. Cats tend to reach with one paw more than the other. Kangaroos are mostly left-handed. Parrots prefer one foot to hold their food. Chimpanzees show clear hand preferences. Even bees lean one way when they turn, and scientists have found a preferred side in creatures with brains nothing like ours. Picking a side is an ancient trick of the brain far older than humans and absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Remember that rare advantage? You can still see it today. In sports where you face an opponent head-on, boxing, fencing, tennis, baseball, left-handers show up far more often than 10% because their angle throws people off. In some eras of elite fencing and baseball, lefties have made up nearly a third of the very best. They also fill plenty of seats among famous artists, inventors, and world leaders. But be careful here. That does not mean left-handed people are secretly geniuses. There are billions of right-handed achievers too. A surprising name on a list is fun, it isn't proof. Which brings us right back to that myth. You've heard it. Left-handed people are more creative. Right-brained people just think differently. The honest answer? The evidence is weak. Researchers do find tiny average differences between left and right-handers on some tests, but the overlap is so enormous that it tells you almost nothing about any single person. Being left-handed won't make you an artist. Being right-handed won't make you a robot. And nobody is purely left-brained or right-brained. You use all of it all the time. Your two halves are far more connected than the myth pretends. So what actually decides whether you're left or right-handed? It's not one thing. It's the way your brain divided its jobs between two halves, nudged by dozens of genes, finished off by pure chance before you were born, and then, for centuries, fought over by a culture that tried to force everyone the same. Your dominant hand is a small, visible clue to how your one-of-a-kind brain is wired. So next time you grab a pen without thinking, remember, that choice was made long before you ever held one. If you caught yourself staring at your own hands during this video, do me a favor and subscribe. There's a new strange but true story every week. See you in the next one.